Welcome back to Lab at Home with the Museum of Life and Science. As always, we hope that you will help lead our program with your thoughts and questions and ideas in the moderated chat box. Today, the name of our Lab at Home is called Raise Your Voice, because we're going to be talking about something that's really important for people to use to communicate. It's very important for me to use to communicate with all of you. It is your voice. So I would love to hear from all of you. What is your voice, or where does it come from, or what is it for? How do you use your voice? Tell me what you think of when we're thinking about our voice. What do we think? What comes to mind? I know that I use my voice an awful lot, particularly when I'm talking to my friends here. It's something that it's something that you use for talking, for sure. Where does your voice come from? Ooh, my friend says that it comes from your vocal cords. Oh, I love this term. This is a really good term. We'll come back to this term. So your vocal cords are what make your voice interesting. I like this. Your voice is what you hear. Yeah, it's what you hear when you speak. And it's something that we do, I think that at least I do, right? So naturally, I kind of don't even think about how it works or really what it is. And maybe it's the same way with all of you. But our voices are this really amazing thing about us as a species, as a human species. The fact that we can use our voices the way that we do is really, really special. So I have a couple kind of like models slash illustrations slash kind of experiments for us to do today to kind of talk about what makes our voices and what exactly it is that's making sound when we use our voices. So we'll go over those materials in just a second, but let's kind of zero in on what exactly the voice is. So first, I want to give a shout out. I don't know if we have our friend here, but I received a really nice message from one of our viewers. Her name is Hillary, and she's a voice therapist at the Duke Voice Care Center. And she said, oh, that's so interesting that you guys are doing this topic. And she mentioned to me that World Voice Day is on April 16th. So this is pretty good timing to be talking about the voice. I don't know if you were able to watch, Hillary, but if you are, thank you so much for letting us know that, and thank you for the work that you do at Duke, helping people with injured voices. That's awesome. So if we're thinking about our voices, they come from a certain place in our body. What place is that? Where does it come from? Where does your voice come from? There's maybe multiple answers to this, depending on how you're thinking about it. So your voice comes out of your mouth, right? Okay, yeah, your voice comes out of your mouth. And your voice starts, I guess you could say it starts in your throat. Oh, in your vocal organs. Yeah, you have special parts of your body for making your voice. I guess we should say that the first place it really starts is when we breathe in and out. So if we're breathing in with me, our diaphragm is helping to kind of pull the air into our lungs, and we're pulling it in through a tube in our throat called our trachea. We're pulling in that air, and it has to pass through a certain area. So I want, if you would, gently touch the front of your throat here. You have a whole bunch of equipment going on beneath the skin here. And there's kind of a little bit of bone, there's a little bit more cartilage, there's a lot of tissue in here. And this part of your body is called your larynx. So it's attached to some other stuff that's going on in here. And your trachea is part of your your whole larynx, your voice box. And as you let air in, there's kind of these flaps on the side of your trachea. Those are your vocal cords. They're also called your vocal folds. And they open up to kind of let air in. And then as you let air back out and you want to speak, you use your muscles to change the way that those flaps move. So they open up to take air in. And then when you're speaking, they kind of push and narrow in special ways to change the way that it sounds. So it's a special part of your body that helps you do this. And we're going to kind of talk about, I guess we could say, the mechanics or the physics of how that sound works. So when you touched your throat, I don't know if you were speaking or if you were hearing me speak, but if you would gently touch the front of your throat again, and can you say hello? Say whatever you want to say. I'll say, hello, my name is Peregrine. And I don't know about you, but when I speak, I feel under my fingertips, I feel kind of like almost like a buzzing. What does it feel like to you guys when you do that? When you touch under here and when you use your voice, if you feel very gently and very carefully, what do you feel? What do you think? First, I notice that there's movement when I'm breathing in or breathing out. I notice that there's movement when I'm swallowing. And I notice that when I breathe, I feel this buzzing. And that buzzing is vibration, because all sound is vibration. So we're going to talk about some different ways to make vibrations in similar ways that our vocal tract, our larynx, and I'll put that word in the chat here, helps us make sound. So our larynx is our voice box. It has our trachea passes through it. It has our vocal folds that change shape around the air going in and out of our trachea. And we're going to kind of make some different models of this using some supplies. I don't know if you're doing it along with me, but if you are, I'd love to just show you what I have here. I've got a couple things I'm going to do. The first thing that I have is a balloon. It's okay if you don't have a balloon, because I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to do with the balloon. But here's for one of our experiments. For another one of our experiments, I have a cup, just a regular cup, and I have a rubber band. This is just a regular small rubber band, but I made sure that can kind of go all the way over my cup, like that. And I've got a couple of different rubber bands, just in case one of mine breaks. I don't think that it should, though. I've also got, for our kind of last part of our experiment, I've got some straws, right? One of these is going to be for experiment number 3, and one of these is going to be for experiment number 2. I have 2 different ones. One of them is a plastic one, and then one of them is a metal one. You can just have plastic ones. Those will work fine, but I just happen to have this cool metal one. At least one of them does have to be plastic, because we're going to be cutting it using scissors. So we've got a bunch of different pieces here, and we're going to talk about how to make sound with them. There's a lot of different ways to make sound with your body, right? We talked about using your voice, but since we're talking about sound itself, can you guys think of any ways that you can make sound with your body? What are some ways other than singing or speaking or laughing or shouting? What else can we do with our bodies to make sound? What do you think? Ooh, my friend says that you can clap and you can stomp. So you can clap your hands like this. You can stomp your feet. These are all things that make vibrations happen too. So just like your voice is a sound that's vibrations, the sounds that you make with other parts of your body, if you snap your fingers, that's also creating vibrations, and that's exactly what creates the sound. So we can breathe air in and out of our of our trachea, and it doesn't necessarily make sound, right? Like I'm going to take a deep breath. I guess it makes kind of a rushing sound. Or if I take my, this could be my trachea, right? I could just blow into my straw, and it doesn't really make any sound. So our voices sound so different than just blowing air in and out. So there's something that happens that changes that vibration. And one of the ways that I think shows the what happens very clearly is when you use a balloon a certain way. Maybe you've done this before. If you have a balloon with you and you're participating, what I would ask you to do is blow it up just a little with me. Just like that. So I've got my balloon, I blew it up just a little bit. What I'm saying is that the neck of this balloon is like a person's trachea, kind of, right? It's the tube that helps us take in air. And I guess we'll say that this is our lungs full of air. And if we just breathe out, right? If I just let this go, it'll just, right? It makes a little bit of a noise, but it doesn't make a noise that sounds like it has a pitch. It doesn't sound like a voice, right? I'm gonna try and blow mine out one more time. Right? So I've got my lungs full of air. I've got my neck, my trachea of my balloon. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create some vocal folds, kind of like we have in our larynx. And I'm gonna do that by kind of pinching my neck shut. All right, so I'm pinching the neck of this balloon and I'm still not letting any air out. I don't know, have any of you done this before where you let just a tiny bit of air out like this? Ready? I'm gonna do it again. When I let it go, and maybe if you're doing this one along with me, I can feel a little bit of vibration. I can kind of feel some buzzing in the neck of the balloon, almost like you might feel if you were talking while your hand was on your throat like this. Just a little bit like it. What's happening is that the air is passing through this little passageway and it's being pinched. So when the air is moving through there, it's being pinched. The vibrations are being changed. They're kind of being pushed closer together, which creates a higher pitch. If I make my opening super teeny tiny like this, if I make it really like tiny, it makes a very high pitch. If I make the opening a little bit larger, I let a little more air out, it makes a lower pitch. So high pitch, low pitch. And that's kind of like how our vocal folds work. The way that they move pushes and, in a way, kind of pushes and pulls the pitch around and affects the way that our voice comes out. Now, we have a lot of other parts of our body that help us make speech, because when we talk, it doesn't sound like, it sounds really different, because we also have a lot of different muscles going on where we're moving our tongues a lot. We're moving different parts of our mouth and our throat to create the sounds which make up our vocal language, that make up our speech. So we have a lot of other parts of speaking. It's not just our larynx, but that is where that sound starts to change. So in a way, it's sort of like letting air out of a balloon. I have another way that we can think about creating sound in a way that's a little easier to see, because I don't know about you guys, but when I play with the balloon like we just were, and I pinch the air out, it's kind of hard for me to look at it and see, because it's just such a tiny space in there. It's a little hard for me to look and see that there's an opening at all. It's also happening kind of quickly, so I can't really see the movement happening. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my experiment cam, and we're going to make another kind of model larynx. I'm going to kind of switch to that cam here. You can see that I've got some things on my mat. I've got a rubber band. I've got a cup, And I'm going to use this straw. When I was practicing this, I tried with my plastic straw and I've tried with my, my little metal straw. And I found that my metal straw was slightly easier to use because it's slightly smaller. You can see that my plastic straw is a little bit larger. So it meant that I had to push more air out. So I'm going to be using this one. You can use whichever kind works best for you, but I'm going to use my slightly smaller straw. So I've got a cup and I've got a rubber band. And this rubber band, since it's nice and stretchy, is what's going to represent our vocal cords, right? Our vocal folds, because they're very flexible. They need to be able to move in different ways, right, in order to help us modulate or change our voice. So if you're doing this along with me, what we're going to do right now is we're going to stretch our rubber band all the way around our cup and around the back of it. I'm going to try and put it on as smoothly as I can. I know that I tend to get a few kind of twists in my rubber band whenever I'm doing something like this. And it's okay if there are a few twists, but I'm going to try my best to have it be nice and flat. All right. So I've got my rubber band here, stretches all the way around. I've got this this surface here, and then I've got one surface that's kind of stretchy and moves pretty well. I'll be excited to see if this camera can pick up these movements. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my straw and I'm going to need to place it at some different places along this rubber band. I want it to be, I'll kind of tilt so we can see here. I kind of want to be pointing it down and across. This is something that took me a few tries to do correctly. So it may take you some experimenting to do as well. Let's see if I can make it happen here on camera. I have a backup cup just in case I need, because I noticed that I have a little bit of plastic there. So we'll see if this one should still work for me, but I've got a backup here just in case. What we're going to do is, this is our trachea, and we're going to blow some air through. We're going to blow some air through this space, like this space is our vocal folds, and we're going to see what happens. I'm just going to experiment a little bit and see if I can replicate the results I got earlier. So if you're doing this along with me, go ahead, and I'm just going to start blowing a little bit. Oops, I think I got a little noise. I think that my little piece right here is interfering. So I am going to really quickly try my other cup, see if that works any better for me. This is all part of the scientific process, is seeing what works, and if it doesn't work, trying something different. All right, I'm going to try this again. So again, I'm kind of blowing down and across. I'll keep trying. I almost think I got a better result with my other one. If any of you are doing this at home, tell me what's going on. What I've done before when I've tried this is I was able to kind of create a humming sound that caused the rubber band to vibrate as it moved. Well, I should have practiced with this specific cup. I'm going to try it one more time along the edge just to see if I can get a sound out. Man, you guys are going to have to try this one again without me to see if you can make it work. Let's try this one. Well, I'm getting some sound. Let's see. You know, that's not the sound that I was getting when I was practicing this with a different cup. But I am getting a little bit of sound, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm seeing a little bit of vibration. Let me see if maybe I can give you a side glimpse right here. not as loud a sound as I was hoping for. The best way to do it is to have a little bit of space here to be able to blow kind of down and across, and you do get to see the movement of this rubber band. Not quite. Oh well, that is still data. We say that all failure is still data, still part of the experiment. So I'll have to keep trying on that one. I don't know if you were able to get it to work for you at home, but I'm going to move on to our last kind of experiment for making some sounds by changing the vibration of air moving through a certain kind of enclosed space. So our last kind of experiment here is going to involve a plastic straw, or a paper straw will also work. It has to be one that you can cut, because what we're going to do is we're going to cut this more or less in half, like that. And we're going to create something kind of like a reed. I don't know if any of you guys play instruments, but reeds are a part of a wind instrument that kind of vibrate together in a similar way to how our vocal cords vibrate together. So I'm going to create one like this here. This is also a way that you can kind of create kind of a DIY duck call. So we'll see if yours sounds like a duck. I'll see if mine does too. What you want to do is take the first little bit of it, kind of maybe ½ inch, and fold it like that, so you have a crease on either side. What you want to do is you're going to cut a triangle into your straw on either side. So I'm going to do mine like this. Right, so there's one side, and then I want to cut the other side just about the same. It's okay, it's not totally perfect. All right, so what I have now is this shape that looks kind of like this, right? Kind of has these, it kind of looks like a triangle now. It's something that I'm going to use to blow on in my mouth. So I'm going to kind of just trim a tiny bit off of the end here so it's not as sharp, right? It's just not as quite as pointy, because I am going to be putting it in my mouth and blowing. When we put this in our mouth, we're going to want to clamp our lips around it, around here. We don't want to clamp it shut, but we want to pinch it a little bit, because when we blow through it, it will cause these two flaps to vibrate, and that will create a sound. So I'm going to switch back to my face cam so you can see me use this. This is another one that I have another one made here that I know worked earlier, and we'll see if this one does. It takes a few tries, maybe yours will too, but I'm just going to kind of clamp my lips just around where the bottom of this triangle is, and I'm going to blow. Let's see if it works. Were you guys able to hear that? Did you hear that one? I know sometimes Zoom will cancel out a loud noise if it thinks it was an accidental noise. You were able to hear it, Caroline? Okay, I'll try it again. It's a really loud sound. I can see why people call this kind of like a duck call, right? You can get different pitches depending on where you pinch your lips. So let's see if I can do it again. Ooh, that was a high-pitched one. I'm not a very good duck or a very good reed player, but what I can do is I can change the way that these vibrate. When I am pushing on them, it changes kind of the length of them almost, and the amount of parts of the straw that can do the vibrating, right? And when that shape and size change, that's what changes the pitch of the vibrations. And that's true for our voices as well. Different people at different ages, with different hormone influences, will have kind of different sizes of larynx, of voice box, and different sizes of vocal folds. So changing the shape, as well as changing the airflow, and of course our muscles moving to change the position of our vocal folds are all what create our voice. So we've tried a couple experiments today. We tried this one, which worked out pretty well, pretty loudly. um, we tried out a few different. I tried 2 different cup experiments. I don't know about yours, but mine didn't quite work. I got a little bit of humming when I pressed it, or rather when I blew against the side of it. I wonder if maybe there's too much distance between here and there, or there's a lot of different variables. Mine didn't quite work, but maybe yours did. I know I'm going to keep trying. And then the very first one that we did was the neck of the balloon in some different ways to make different pitches of sound. Ooh, that was too loud for me. I don't know about you guys. So there's lots of different sounds that you can make with different objects, and of course with your body, as we were talking about. I hope that all of you will go on to use your voice for some awesome things today.